Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Amma ba'da, habati fillah. Usikum wa nafsi bi taqwa Allah Azza wa Jal. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bless us all with ilm nafi, rizqan tayyib wa amalan mutaqabbalan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us of our many sins, rectify our condition and our affairs, and help us to be better slaves of His. أسأل الله كريم رب العرش العظيم أن يتولنا في الدنيا والآخرة. Continue on where we left off in our study of advice to Ahl Sunnah, for the youth of Ahl Sunnah. We left off on the 9th point, and this lesson will be a very short lesson, as there's another class I want to start that I promised that we would start for the new Muslim. So we will actually try to go through this fairly quickly. I don't think we're going to finish, but at least we will cover some of the points. So the Sheikh said the 9th point, meaning this is the 9th point regarding the advice for the youth of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, and especially around the fitna that has transpired between the youth and caused so many divisions, and it's still causing immense divisions. And why is it important to rectify the condition? Well, one of the reasons for that, of why it is absolutely imperative that we rectify what has transpired between the youth of Ahl Sunnah, is because Ahl Bid'ah is getting stronger, meaning that there are many deviant ideologies that are going uncontested. If Ahl Sunnah is busy at one another's throats, then Ahl Bid'ah will flourish. They will flourish in their bid'ah, and no one will be there to refute their innovation. And I recently heard from someone I trust, from one of the Tulab al-Ilm, who mentioned to me that Yasir Qadi is very busy working on a major refutation of Ahl Sunnah, something that could be damaging to the weak youths that are not prepared with the tools of knowledge, and those people who waver, and those people who are confused when they see the discord between the youth of Ahl Sunnah. So it's very important that we rectify our status for the sake of dawah, for the sake of sharing appropriate knowledge, because people need to see a good example. If they see that Ahl Sunnah is busy refuting one another and attacking one another's honor, and I'm not talking about knowledge-based refutation, I'm talking about refutations that are based on desires and taking one another off the Sunnah, then of course they will be confused, and they'll say, I don't want to have anything to do with Ahl Sunnah. I want to go with the people who make each other feel good and who have good manners. And that's understandable as far as good manners, but it's not understandable to go with the people of desires and bid'ah. The Sheikh said, the people of innovation who have opposed Ahl Sunnah and their minhaj when it comes to textual deduction, education, teaching and calling to Allah, follow their desires and do not establish their knowledge and principles by following the ulama of Ahl Sunnah. Rather, they belittle and slander them and consider themselves to be more virtuous than them. These are the true people of bid'ah and deviance, and it is imperative that we combat them by drawing people's attention to their evil path and deviance from the Sunnah in order to refute their misconceptions and to deal with them in the manner that is appropriate for the people of innovation to be dealt with in all circumstances. So this is very important, that really Ahl Sunnah needs to be having ta'awun together, cooperating together on the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and cooperating and refuting Ahl Bid'ah. Because if Ahl Bid'ah is left alone and left to flourish and spread their ideologies, and I know people don't like to hear this, but it will cause fasad in the religion. And it will cause many, many people to go astray, because they will take the ru'us of bid'ah, the people of innovation, the heads of bid'ah, and they will follow them as if they are scholars, and they will follow them as if they are people to refer to, and those people will refer them to Jahannam. In fact, they will refer them to those things which are away from the manhaj and the methodology of the Salaf of this ummah. So this is why it's absolutely imperative that we work together and cooperate in khair, and cooperate on the Sunnah, and avoid bid'ah, and avoid heresy, and avoid heretical practices, and we cooperate together in refuting Ahl Bid'ah. He says, but this does not prevent them from being invited to the truth, and for the ulama to debate with them in ways that will produce the best results, if this will be more effective in their return to the Sunnah. So it's very important. I can't stress enough, and I know people don't like that, but it is a part of the minhaj of the Salaf. It is a part of the protection of your religion, which is Islam, is that refuting Ahl Bid'ah and speaking about Ahl Bid'ah and speaking about the mukhalafat. Even recently, I just had a very, not in depth, but unfortunately, I let my emotions get perhaps the best of me, but I did say my piece very strongly that one of the tulab al-ilm, or one of the mashayikh in America, that we disagreed tremendously about some things, and I referred him back to the usul of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, mabniyatun ala kitabillah wa sunnati Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it had to do with the leaders. And I said, your arguments are like the arguments of the people of Takfir, and that's why I can't accept that at all, and this is why I'm saying what I have to say. May Allah forgive us and you, and guide us in you. And so this is why it's important, ahabati fillah, we have to refute bid'ah. It's just from the religion, not we as in all of us, but meaning those people who have some knowledge, or have knowledge of the bid'ah, and they have knowledge of the Sunnah which opposes it, and they have the ability to refute that. So I'm not saying everyone should get involved. That's absolutely not what I'm saying, so please don't understand me. What I'm saying is, it's up to those students of knowledge and those people in responsibility that have something, that have sat with ulama, that have sat under the beards of the ulama, and they have benefited from the scholars of Ahl Sunnah, that they have to refute bid'ah when they see it. Because otherwise the youth and others will take it on as a part of their faith, and they will leave the Sunnah. They will abandon the Sunnah, and they will abandon Ahlihi. They will abandon the people of the Sunnah, because the people of innovation will have so many nice entertainment videos and ways of enticing them, and so many followers that are not learning much more about their Islam, but they're learning more about how to be entertained, and how to be entertained in an Islamic fashion. May Allah guide us in them, Ameen. It is imperative, though, not to confuse the ulama of Ahl Sunnah and how their mistakes should be dealt with a clarification of which has already preceded, with the ulama of Ahl Bid'ah, those whom it is obligatory for us to separate from, boycott, and warn against. This is due to the fact that the mistakes of the ulama from Ahl Sunnah are based upon their diligence in seeking the truth, coupled with following the correct methodology and etiquettes when it comes to textual deductions, contrary to the mistakes of Ahl Bid'ah, which are founded upon and the result of following their desires and abandoning the correct methodology and the proper etiquettes as it relates to textual deductions and extractions. The distinction between the two has to be defined. This is the sole contrast between Ahl Sunnah and Ahl Bid'ah, and by this it will become clear to the intelligent person why some of the Imams from Ahl Sunnah who have erred by agreeing with some of the opinions of the people of Bid'ah in a few specific cases, were not considered to be innovators. This is something we mentioned in the beginning of this treatise, is that there are great imams of the Sunnah. And as we mentioned, some of the statements of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, in which he said that there are so many imams of the Sunnah and so many scholars of hadith, the muhaddithin, that had mistakes in even Aqidah. They made mistakes in certain issues in Aqidah, but no one threw them under the bus because of they didn't do it out of desires. But perhaps in the society they were in, there was a lot of people, for example, that were Ashari, or they could be Maturidi, or they could be something else. So this affected their Aqidah. It had some effect on some masail, some issues in Aqidah where they deviated from. So we don't accept their mistakes, even though they were the imams of the Sunnah, but we do not belittle them and say that they are not from Ahl Sunnah. So I hope that point is clear. So in fact, in the reality, when we look at the scholars and how they practice these dawabit, these principles, is that not everyone, obviously, who falls into a bid'ah is a mubtadi'ah. But there's a difference in how they dealt with imams of the Sunnah who made a mistake, or a talib al-ilm from Ahl Sunnah. And this is what I want you to learn, because we have so many questions. So-and-so is doing this. So-and-so is with these guys now. So-and-so is so-and-so. Okay. What we see, that if the person, their usul, their foundation is the foundation of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, that they adhere to those principles, but they made a mistake. He made a mistake here. He made a mistake there. We see that we have something we're wondering, why is he working with such and such organization? But we know his usul and what he teaches, what he has always taught, what he teaches up to now is from the Sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wa ta'zeem as-sunnah to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the madhab of the Salaf. But we see that all of a sudden he's kind of working with these guys. You should still give that benefit to the doubt, give that sheikh or that student of knowledge the benefit of the doubt, because all of his works are calling to good. But he made a mistake, or he's doing something that we may not be pleased with, we may not agree with, but it may not necessarily, it doesn't take him off the Sunnah. That's the bottom line. So the point is, ahabati fillah, there's a difference between someone whose usul, their foundation principles, are not from Ahl Sunnah, versus the person whose usul is from Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. So the etiquettes are different in dealing with them. The distinction between the two has to be defined. This is the sole contrast between Ahl Sunnah and Ahl Bid'ah. And by this, it will become clear to the intelligent person why some of the imams from Ahl Sunnah have erred by agreeing with some of the opinions of the people of Bid'ah in a few specific issues were not considered to be innovators. And I think we'll stop there. There isn't really many people watching anyway or listening, so we'll stop there. We'll quickly see if there's any questions, and then I want to start another dars. Kullu ibn Adam khata, naam. Their minhaj was on the Sunnah, and they will be rewarded once for their mistakes, and double reward if they are correct. Exactly, if someone is a mujtahid, that they have knowledge, and they made a mistake in his ijtihad, then you, as you said, as according to the Prophet hadith sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I don't really see any questions. So I'll just end with just one last statement of the importance of having husn al-dhan, having a good positive outlook towards your sheikhs and your students of knowledge. That no one is free from mistakes. They will make mistakes. They do make mistakes, but do not rush to take them from the Sunnah. That does not mean, however, they cannot leave the Sunnah. Of course, there are many people whose usul and foundation was from Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, and then they left the fold of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Some people even left the fold of Islam. So it doesn't mean because someone's a Muslim today that they're going to be a Muslim tomorrow, or someone is from Ahl Sunnah today, they're going to be from Ahl Sunnah tomorrow. It is possible to leave. It is possible to totally destroy all of those usul. And I think a good as we've mentioned certain individuals. I don't need to mention their names anymore, but certain individuals who started out teaching the books of Tawheed was Sunnah and had a lot of good scholarship that the people could benefit from, but then they deviated and then deviated more and then deviated more, and then they keep adding on to their deviation till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best where they will end. And we hope that Allah guides them away from deviance and that they do not even leave the fold of Islam, which is absolutely possible. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us all, bless us all with the ikhlas, with the bat, wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.